75 degrees, and it is a good one out here today. Very nice one out here today. Woo. And Gensilla right out of the gates. You can tell it's a nice day just by the naturally aspirated engine she's pulling out. Woo. It's like a racing horse out of the gates. She can just pull in that air and just know it's going to be a special day. So you guys have asked me a few times how much is insurance here in New York. It really just depends on your age, your driving history, what car you drive, and where you live. If you live in an area where your car is probably going to get broken into, like some of these areas here in New York City that are no joke.
Shaka on the beats. Shaka on the beats. Shaka on the beats.
So to touch on the age part and your driving history, a lot of times insurance companies will not take a risk on someone who is very young because they have a very inexperienced driving history. They don't have the length of driving history for insurance companies to really know what their driving habits are. You know, just to be quietly frank, it doesn't matter if you do in your mind have intentions to be a great driver as a young person. Most insurance companies will not want to take a risk on you. So what they will do is you will have slightly higher premiums than someone maybe that's older. You have to pretty much prove yourself over time while you are young. You have to prove yourself that while you are a young driver, you will be a driver that will do the right thing and not speed and not get into accidents, and overall just prove yourself over time to insurance companies that they can trust in you. Now, hitting the second point about what you drive, and just to piggyback off the first thing I said, a person that is older and a person that's younger with the same car will have maybe more than likely slightly different premiums just based on age and driving history alone. So with the second part of the equation, what type of a car are you driving? Now what happens is once you are driving a car that is known to be a sports car, that is known to be something that has a lot of power, that has a lot of different demand as far as just drawing attention, as far as maybe a sports car, a supercar, or anything that has a great deal of horsepower, you're going to be looking at a higher premium no matter what, whether you're young or old. But it will be slightly cheaper if you're older, of course. And a lot of these cars, like these Daytonas and these Hellcats, are known to be very aggressive, and they're known to be cars that people like to do burnouts in and do donuts in and take to the racetrack. So their insurance, which by the way, if you do go to a track, you will not be covered if you get into an accident by most insurance companies. So they will tell you that. Here in Uconnect, it has told you that. I've done videos on that in the past. So just be mindful of that before you even get yourself in a situation that you'll regret. And then lastly, as far as where you live, in this case, I'm in New York City, and the 5 boroughs has a very vast range of different areas you can live in, from good to bad to high crime to low crime. You know, whether or not you park out on the street, if you have a garage or if you have a driveway. So those things all play a big factor also, at least in New York, where predominantly most people do not have driveways or garages and they do park on the street. That will play a big part also in New York. And of course, when you do park on that street, what area of New York City are you living in? So it is based on, here in New York, a lot of things that maybe some other states may not factor in because maybe the crime is lower, or you just have more residential areas and everybody pretty much has their own driveway, or they're not really dealing with things that, you know, you could be dealing with here in New York. So I'm fortunate enough to have my own driveway, and I've been having it for years, and even before that I parked in a lot around the corner from me. So that is something that the insurance companies take into account, and they look into that as less of a liability for them, and they will drop your insurance premiums just on that alone also. So that could be a big factor in getting yourself a little bit of a cheaper premium. Now, I don't know if here in 2019 it still matters if you get a darker car, your insurance is cheaper. You know, that may be such a small factor that gets added in. But in the olden days, if you had a bright red car, your insurance would be a little bit higher. Like I said, nowadays, I doubt that really plays a factor. I think it's just about the first few things I was telling you guys about. and maybe the color does have a little bit to do with it, but maybe not that much.